one of the few things that's been good about COVID-19 for us, I mean, there's not a lot of good stuff that's happening in the world with it, obviously. But one of the good things that happened for MotoAmerica was that we were able to get Brandon Paasch to join MotoAmerica again, because he was scheduled to do the BSB series. Obviously, they haven't started yet. There would be issues with international travel, et cetera. So Brandon was able to get a ride with the Celtic HSBK team, and we have him here with us today to chat a little bit. Sean, we're also in the middle of we're at Road America, and there's bikes on track. Actually, it's the Heritage Cup, which is kind of cool. We haven't had that before, so Sean will talk to us a little bit about that old stuff, because he's old stuff.
Yeah, speaking of that sound, I mean, the nice thing about that is we've got about 23 bikes out there, and they're super bikes from the mid-'80s, but they've also got a Britain out there, which Bob Robbins owns, and that's an incredible bike if you guys know about it, V1000, kind of a frameless bike with hub center steering. It's such a cool bike to ride, and as if I ever rode it. I've never even sat on it, but maybe Bob will let me do that. But no, he probably won't. There's some fun bikes out there, and Heritage Cup is just part of all the cool things that we have here this weekend with Mini Cup, and then our 5 classes are racing here. So we're really stoked to be back here for a second round, wouldn't you say, Paul?
Yeah, it's good. It's there's going to be fans, and there's already a lot of them, and there's supposed to be a hell of a lot more this weekend, so it'll be cool. Let's talk to Brandon.
Let's talk to this guy in the middle. Yeah. Brandon, I got to start with a couple of things. I'm not trying to put Paul on the spot here, but no, it's okay. But you pointed out something that I want to ask you about. So being a writer, I'm always very particular about spellings, but also pronunciations. And I've heard your last name pronounced so many different ways.
Oh, did I screw it up?
No, you said Paasch, but it's actually, is it like P-O-S-H?
Yeah, I always say it like P-O-S-H, basically.
Right.
I've heard so many different ways. I don't even know.
Yeah, and it's what is the background? What's your name?
German.
It is German.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Of course, the SCH probably makes sense.
Daytona, they were calling me Patch.
That makes no sense.
At the 200. I was like, where did you guys come up with that? But
Brandon Paasch. It could be worse. I mean, if it was Cameron, our defending champion in Superbike, they used to call him Boobier, and he used to have Booby on the back of his leather. So at least you haven't got that problem going for you. But Brandon, thanks for being on with us. And also I have to say, yeah, I'm so happy you're back in our series again. I mean, we've loved having you. You're a good guy to have in our series, and you're doing well with everything. You keep growing, which we'll talk about. But circumstances worked out for us. Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been racing in MotoAmerica. Obviously, my last full year here was 2016, the KTM Cup. Just a little kid coming up, and I went on, did some British Superbike stuff, did a MotoGP race, Junior World Championship Moto3. So I've been scattered around a lot. And then this year with obviously COVID-19, it's been hectic. It's like a lot of last minute decisions. And I've already signed with a team in BSB to do Moto2. And I can't travel right now. I live with my family. I live with my grandmom's close by. So I can't really risk it. I'm not even flying to the races here. I'm driving everywhere. So just trying to stay safe and get through the year and see what happens this season and see what comes up for next year. Speaking of
last year, I mean, the Moto2 bike seemed almost ridiculous for you when you would stuff yourself onto it. Yeah. Was it going to be, is a Moto2 bike a lot bigger? Were you still going to be stuffed in?
Yeah, the Moto2 is still a very snug fit for me, which anything's a tight fit. I just rode an R1 last week, still tight for
really?
me. Yeah, I'm just big. There's not much I can do about it, so I just kind of accepted it, and I do a lot of yoga, a lot of stretching, keep my weight down, and it's money.
We were talking a little bit about his weight before the show, and I mean, you're skinny, but because you're tall, you still have a little bit of weight.
Yeah, it's a never-ending problem where I'm always struggling with my weight, and every team I've ridden for, you're too big, you're too heavy, you're too heavy. Every race I show up, there's you're too heavy, you need to lose weight. I'm like, man, I can't lose any more weight. It's a problem that I'll have for the rest of my career for sure. Just always trying to get lighter, and it gets to a point where you're like, hey, this is it.
So last race here, did they try to make up your weight with the bike? Is that what happened?
The bike weight here at the last race, the bike being underweight, that was just a mistake. It just got overlooked. It's a yes and no. Like, they're trying to keep the bike as light as they can, but there was a miscalculation with fuel and just wound up being a little bit under, which happens. But
how disappointing was that for you? Because you were effectively on the podium twice, but then one of them got taken away.
Yeah, it's always good to be on the podium. That's a good time, and just to have one kind of taken away through no fault of my own it's upsetting a little bit, more so for the championship points. Because I went from second in the championship, 10 points down, now I'm 30 points back, and I don't even know, 5th or 6th, I think.
So after I want to say last week, so it wasn't last week, it seemed like it was, but whenever it was, at the end of May, after leaving here with the 2 results that you did have on track, were you fairly pleased, or is there too big of a gap?
For me, I'm always striving for more, and I don't like getting second. So to me, it was a defeat. Like, I showed up, and I have tons of excuses, and the list goes on, but I want to win, and that's what I get paid to do, is win. So I don't get paid for second or third. So I need to be winning these races. And I went home and worked on a lot of stuff for the past 3 weeks, and the amount of track time that I've had on 1000s and 600s in the past 3 weeks is more than I've had in the past 2 years on a big bike. So
it's a big help.
Yeah, I've been like, we pinpointed a few different things that I was struggling with here at the last race, and that's all I've been working on for 3 weeks. So hopefully I can put it to work this weekend.
And this morning's session, you went well?
Yeah, this morning I was like 0.4 off my fastest time from the last time we were here. So that's not too bad. I'm happy with that. I want to definitely improve my time from the last time we were here, but it's a process, and I usually start slow. So
when you don't get to ride during the break, and you like, the first session's got to be a little difficult, like your brain and stuff getting up to speed. So riding a lot, you just jump on the thing and you're good?
Yeah, even still, at this place in particular, the straights are so fast, it's like your brain is a little bit slow. But after, I'd say maybe 15 minutes, it's like a 30-minute session. After like 15 minutes, I'm good to go.
Can you talk about your training session, or your training regimen a little bit? You seem to be always riding some kind of a motorcycle. Do you cycle, and what else do you do to stay fit?
Yeah, I do a lot of road bikes, a bit of mountain bike, just to kind of mix it up. I don't run so much anymore, but I definitely run, and very little gym work.
And you're trying not to build muscle? Is that sort of what it is?
I'm like starving myself and riding the bicycle. And
you're really starving yourself?
Yeah, when I rode Moto 3, it's like you wake up, no breakfast, no lunch, eat dinner, and you have a small dinner, and plus training throughout the day. Yeah, I don't eat all day, and then I train in the afternoon, and then go to bed. That's
such a tough thing, because with JD Beach, we used to talk about, obviously he's a little different body style than you, and he would always talk about food as being fuel and what he needed for training. It's got to be hard for you, because you need that food with your training and everything else. You need to have the nutrition's clearly important. So how do you deal with that part of it? Yeah,
luckily now I'm not on a little bike anymore. I guess it's still a little bike. Every bike's a little bike for me, but I'm at least onto a 600 now, where I'm eating like almost normal food now. But for a while with the Moto 3, it's like you're hungry all day. Yeah. Even when you go to bed, you're laying in bed like staying awake at night because you're starving. I felt like I was in Ethiopia or somewhere.
Wow. That's tough. That's like dedication to the sport. Even at your age, Brandon, you're already having to make sacrifices and do the things you need to do. A lot of times with riders your age, they're probably not having to be that concerned about it because they're smaller or whatever. So, that's pretty amazing. I want to ask you about how you started, because, in the grand scheme of things, you haven't really been riding that long, but probably most of your life. Where and how did it start for you?
Back in like 2003, 2004, I was like 2 or 3 years old, and I got a little Honda Z50, and that was my first bike with the real fat 10-inch wheels, and riding around at my grandma's farm. And then we had a track in the woods, and just grew up riding there. And by the time I was like 5, started racing like the 50 class at local Englishtown. It's a local moto track. Mm-hmm. And then just grew up racing there like 50, 65s, and then right when I got to like the 150s, I swapped to road racing. I found like NJ Mini GP. It's a local like just a kart track like mini Moto series, and I did that and just slowly like took my time. Started on the 50, then went to 65, then just built my way up. And back then we didn't have any of these like cool bikes we got now, like the Ninja 400 or any of that. We had I had a Milwaukee 250, which was really cool, and Ninja 250, which was a pig.
It's kind of funny. We have that Ovale now, which is in Mini Cup, and you're probably thinking, wow, I wish I had that a few years ago when I started.
If I had that when I was a little kid, it would be maybe a bit of a different ball game right now.
Really?
I'm too big for one, right? But they look like they're really good, and it's teaching the kids a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're learning like on a real.
A lot of horsepower with a small tire, and they're already learning from a young age like how to change the suspension and when the bike starts moving around and all that stuff. So it's definitely pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you work, even though you're still young, do you work with younger riders? I think I see you do that on social media.
Yeah, I train with, he's basically my little brother now, Gus Rodeo.
Oh, sure.
He's in the 400 class.
Yep.
And I work with him a lot. We always hang out together and ride together. I live at his house sometimes. So I just show up, I'll bring a bag of clothes and a dirt bike, and we'll go ride moto for a week straight, or I'll bring my road race gear and I'll hop in their RV and ride his backup 400.
Cool.
So
that is
we
really
just
good.
go to all the tracks, and he lives like 20 minutes from New Jersey Motorsports Park, so we'll throw the 150s in the back of the truck and go ride mini moto for the day or whatever. We ride together a lot.
Yeah. So it's pretty obvious from talking to you. I think the fans can see you're pretty much self-motivated for what you're doing. I like to ask this because, you know, you're talking about having to starve yourself and everything else. You have an internal motivation that really, is it fun for you? Or are you driven to win? And is that fun? I mean, at the core of it, is it still fun, I guess?
Yeah, like at the beginning, so like say 2016 when I was here, that was just all fun. There was no like, yeah, I was training a little bit, but it wasn't very serious, and I was just enjoying myself, having a good time. Then as soon as I went to Europe and saw what these kids were doing, and the first year I got my ass beat. Like, that's how it was. I didn't do very well. I was barely in the top 10, not enjoying it at all. I don't like getting beat. And from then on, I started like changing in my mind, like, hey, what's fun for me is winning. And if I'm not winning, I'm hating my life. So I kind of just, it's slowly evolved over time, where at the beginning it was fun to just be out there and racing. And then now it's like, all right, I'm only having fun when I'm winning. And it's become more and more business every year for me. It's more like, this is a job, and I show up and I have to win. Mm-hmm. And that's my job, is winning. So yeah, I mean, the money definitely motivates you. The standing on the podium and getting the trophy and the photo is it's cool too. It's a lot of work, and you always have to have that end goal in sight. And I want to be in the World Championship, so to have that as my end goal is definitely drives me every day to get up and get to work.
That's great. Yeah.
Looking back at it, was 2016 the most fun you've had?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, things came, I don't want to say easy, but
yeah,
it came.
Yeah, that was like, back then, for me, at like the mentality I had and the skill level that I had compared to everybody else in the class, it was like, okay, I have some good guys in my corner, and I can figure out how to outsmart these guys. And it's not like very physically demanding. I'm on a little bike, I'm a little kid, whatever. I'm just having a good time. I was one of the smallest riders. I could draft people to the line. So that was fairly easy. And then from there, I jumped into Supersport the next year and went like to the back. And that was a real like punch in the throat for me. Like that sucked. And it just took me some time to figure it out. But last year was really fun as well. In the Moto3 class in BSB, that was like hanging out with all the guys in England and just having a good time and really enjoying it. Because 2018 and 2017, I didn't get the results. I was just frustrated all year, just not really enjoying it. And last year, I got on the best team, best bike, good rider, really good crew chief and data guy, and it was like easy. I mean, I wouldn't say easy all the time, but last year was like, for all the work that I was putting in, the wins were coming pretty easy for me. So it was like, you starve all week and it sucks, but you show up and you win the race and it's like, all right, that was worth it.
Yeah. Talk about the team you're on this year and the fact that it's Celtic and HSBK, kind of a collaboration between the two with Bobby Scheck and with Barry Gilson. And being that you're from Freehold, New Jersey and live in Brooklyn a little bit, and Barry's New York City or upstate New York a little bit.
Yep.
Did you have a relationship with him, and have you known him for a while?
Yeah, I've known Barry and PJ since I was like 8, maybe. We used to there's this go-kart track called OVRP, and that's like, I would go up there and ride with PJ 2-3 times a week for like a whole summer. And we would just work together, and then I would see Barry around and see like some other people that used to work with the team, and they would just like start to notice me more and more and more because I was always there. So I've known Barry for a long time, and it just kind of fell into place where one of my personal sponsors is friends with the team, and it all just come together last minute.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and of course, I know that you know the legacy of Barry and Celtic Racing. I mean, heck, Chaz Davies was part of that team. And have you ever talked to Chaz?
No, I've never talked to Chaz, but I just know that like that team, they've always had good riders when they've raced, and they've always gotten results, and they've always had really good bikes. So you can't really go wrong. And now we have HSBK as part of the team, and I've been living at the shop a little bit this year. I stayed for like 3 weeks at the shop, and just seeing how the whole operation is run, and it's very professional and they're very organized at the shop, and very like everything is checked pretty much. So it's a good environment for me. No pressure, just go out, do your job, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Was your debut in 2015 at Miller?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always remember him, like he came in, you were on the podium in your first race.
Yeah.
So he was this little kid, but it was kind of cool because when I was interviewing him, he was kind of a smart ass and he had a personality. I'm like, oh man, this kid's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And then the next year, he obviously had all that success, and like in the last round, he got in a little bit of trouble, but he'd like hit a phone somewhere.
Yeah.
And after he won the championship, he did like a selfie on his bike while riding back, and he posted it, and then we had to take it down and all that stuff. But he was always like, he always had his shit together, let's say.
Yeah, from the beginning. And the thing, of course, I'm sure you're going to remember this, Brandon, that when the first year that you were racing the full season, I got to say this to you guys. When Brandon would come into the press conference, which he did quite often because he was usually winning or on the podium, I'd stare at his butt. I had to. And Brandon, talk about it.
Well,
talk about
there's a reason.
Let's make that clear. There is a reason. Yeah, this guy. No, go ahead. Tell.
Yeah, we got a very creative team behind me, and every race we would have a different like butt patch on my suit, and it was always like with a current event. So I think that year like Prince died or something. We had one for that. Coming here, we had I Cheese Wisconsin. We had all kinds of different ones. We had this new movie like Finding Dory or something come out. Yeah, Finding Nemo or something like that. And we put like Finding Vic Dory. Like we had all kinds of like funny stuff. And we still do like some little stuff, but it's that year was definitely one for the books. It was always different every race, and we were just getting kind of creative with it because going into the year, I knew that I was going to be very successful that season. So we kind of were like, okay, let's capitalize on, I'm going to have this TV time, and why not just let's put it to our advantage and try and at least entertain people a little bit.
And I was thoroughly entertained. I mean, I remember the Purple Rain pretty well.
Yep.
But so it's interesting that you'd say you felt like you were gonna have a good year. Why did you think that? How did you know that?
Just looking at like the people that were in the class, looking at my results from the season before, because I did 2 races in 2015, and the first one I finished second, and at New Jersey I finished third. So just going off the results and who was in the class, because the top couple moved up. So in my head, I was like, okay, we're already on the podium. We have a really good shot at getting some results this year. So for me, that was like just a gauge to kind of judge what I was going to be able to do the next year. And we still do that. Like 2018, when I raced the Moto 3 in the British Championship, didn't have the best of year, but I also wasn't on the best bike. And then the next year, I was like, okay, this is going to be a good year. The top couple guys moved up. I got a better bike. And it went well. This year, at the end of last year, I did a race here actually with TSE, and we were on basically just a stock bike, just showed up, and we were running top 5.
Yeah,
and
you did well. I remember
a few
that.
guys moved up, so I was like, all right, we're gonna have a good year at Supersport.
That's good to have that to gauge by. So let's go back to when you raced in a spec class with the KTM RC Cup. So I guess the bikes are almost all the same.
Yep.
So you kind of had a feeling you were going to do okay. So what do you attribute your skill on a bike that everybody else has? Is it corner speed? Is it your tuck? Is it, what is it?
For me, I've always worked on a lot like the aerodynamics on the straight because I'm so big. Back then it didn't matter as much, but I've always had to work a lot like getting tucked in on the bike, and it's always been kind of difficult for me. And then other than that, like I come from GP style bikes, so we're like very high entry speed, high mid corner speed, and there's no horsepower, so when you open the gas, the bike doesn't move. You can just go to 100% throttle. And that's my style, very fast and flowing. So a track like this for me is very like my style, quote unquote. So like you go into the corner, you brake, off the brakes, carry a lot of mid corner speed and open the gas. But on the big bikes, you can't do that as much. So like here, the last time I killed my tire because I was trying to ride it like a little bike. So I'm just, it's like style changes on different bikes. You ride them different ways. So I'm just like working my way up to this. And back then we spent a lot of time on the go-kart tracks, on 300s on the kart tracks, just riding the same bike that I'm racing, but on a really small track just to get a better feel for the equipment.
The guys you raced against last time, Richie Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly, is that what you expected?
Yeah, honestly, I think for me, Richie was a bit of a surprise. I thought, because I raced with him a little bit in California over the winter, and I was like, okay, he'll be quick, but I didn't expect him to be that fast right away. I was more expecting Sean to be really fast this year, and you always get that one guy, you show up to the first round, you're like, whoa, where'd you come from? And that for me, that was Richie, but I kind of had a feeling, especially here, that bike's very fast, so I thought, okay, it'll be maybe me, Sean, and Richie, or maybe just me and Sean, and wound up being Richie running away with both races. So you can never guess. But yeah, that's who I would have thought out of everyone.
You had mentioned about the fact that PJ is your teammate, and of course he raced in Supersport last year on a Yamaha R6, but that's not the same bike, right?
No,
you have a different bike.
Yeah, mine's a newer bike, and honestly, we can't really use PJ's data because he's so small and I'm so big, and it's like I ride in such a different way than him that we're basically starting from zero. Yeah. Because I have a new crew chief, new everything, new bike, and I'm pretty new to all these tracks. It's been years since I've been to some of them. Road Atlanta, I haven't been there since 2016. A lot of tracks, it's just been a few years since I've been there, and I've never been on a big bike, so I'm just taking this year as let's show up to the track, take it slow at the beginning, figure it out, work with the team as best as we can, and by the end of the weekend we'll be good. And going from a Junior Cup or a RC Cup level bike, a smaller displacement motorcycle, to a bigger bike, which for you isn't a huge bike, but it's got a lot more power. You can twist the throttle. Do you see the difference? Were you the first time you were here, where you were kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm coming into this corner a lot faster than I thought I would? Did you experience that at all? Not really. I mean, for me, a bike is a bike. I don't notice the speed difference. I don't notice any of that. I just know, okay, you brake here, you turn in, and you open the gas. And that's my process. There is no I don't really I don't focus on anything except for what I have to do. So I don't notice the speed difference or how it feels breaking into the corner, with the wind blowing you or anything like that. I just know this is what I have to do. Yeah. So I'm very when I'm on a fast lap, I'm very, very focused on put the bike here and don't worry about anything else. But when you see me in the first practice, second practice, I'm looking around the track, doing wheelies, goofing off a little bit, and then you'll see towards the end, I get very focused, and it's one lap at the end of the practice or qualifying. Is that your strategy? I mean, are you intentionally not kind of focused straight in until later? Is that what you're trying to do? Well, it's a bad habit that I'm trying to kick. I mean, it's hard for me because I'm so used to I can go out and have a good time, ride with some other people, and then in the end, put down a fast lap and be at the front. Whereas this year, I need to be able to go out and go fast right away, which is really hard for me.
Yeah.
But it works, I guess, to a certain point, and then you start to fall behind on the weekend because you get one lap at the end of the session to go fast. So if you mess that one lap up, now you're sitting 2 seconds off in the first practice, and you got to make all that time up in the next one. So for me, I need to start get the ball rolling sooner, get out, get a fast lap, and then do another fast lap at the end. But yeah, that's been my strategy. Just go out, goof off for the first practice, in the last 5 minutes, lay down a good lap, and then come in and work based off that one lap. But
that's cool.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because you only get a few minutes of the whole session to make changes for the next session.
Right.
Instead of having 5 laps or 10 laps,
All right, so Brandon, we've had you on for a little bit of this podcast, and I already asked you the question about the whole butt patch thing, which I went out there on that. This next question I have to ask you is on, this isn't as bad, but on social media, and Paul probably saw this too. Okay, you're sitting on the hood or leaning on the hood of an Acura NSX.
Yeah.
Whose car is that? And why are you leaning on it?
What's that have to do with butt patch?
Well, I'm just saying it's something that I saw about him, and I'm going to put him on the spot about what he was doing.
Yeah, I'm sponsored by the Classic Car Club of Manhattan, and they got anything you want. You just, if you're a member or you're good friends like I am, you come in and they got like really nice BMW M4 GTS or Porsches or Ferraris or whatever you want, and they help me flex on these people for a little bit,
Wow. Did you drive the car?
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. That thing, it feels like you're floating.
Is it?
It's really weird because it's all-wheel drive, and it's got so much horsepower. It's like when it goes, it doesn't even, you don't like feel the acceleration, There's no weight transfer. It just goes.
Yeah.
It's a strange feeling.
So you like cars? You're into cars.
I'm always in something pretty nice.
Do you think at any point in your career, I mean, we want you to continue to motorcycle race, but race motorcycles, I should say. Do you think you'd ever transition to car racing at all? Would you like that? Or actually, is it weird that you can't lean? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, when I'm driving around in all these nice cars, it's just me like going to get like hang out with friends and enjoy myself. So I don't really like mess around in them too much, to be honest. I'm very just like relaxed and like we're going to the beach or whatever. But I would race like a Miata or something. That'd be pretty fun, like just to go out and have a good time. And I wouldn't do anything very serious though.
Not have to lose weight.
Yeah, yeah. Then I can drink beer and hang out with the kids and live the NASCAR life.
Do you have a motorcycle license?
Actually, not yet.
Right. Most riders don't, which people don't realize.
Yeah, I'm working on it because I just built a Harley, so we're doing wheelies and stuff.
On a Harley?
Yeah.
Oh man,
having a good time. We just go out. Me and my friends, we ride on the street all the time, but we don't really have licenses. I don't recommend it. But
don't recommend it.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. It's just we live in a pretty rural area. So it's like nobody really cares. So we're pretty dialed in, but I'm working on getting my license.
That's awesome. I love it. So I think this was a good episode to have you on. We're glad to have you, and we're like I have to say again. I mean, it was cool to have you overseas and an American doing well and stuff. But I'm glad you're back in our series again, and that you're doing well. And we wish you well for this season. So. Thanks for being on with us.
Thank you. And I got to give a shout out to the whole Celtic HSBK team and Evolve GT, Luxstar VIP, Arise, Speedy, the whole sponsor deal. Man, who else we got? Are we going to have to cut this part out?
Rocco Landers on
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
drawing a blank right now. Fresh and lean. Just everybody that's helping us out, It's a fun ride, so.
Yeah, it's a good team. I mean, you guys are well organized. So, well, thanks for joining us on this podcast and listening and watching for this one. Please go to MotoAmerica.com and get your MotoAmerica Live Plus, our streaming subscription service. And also for race tickets for the next round coming up, Road Atlanta. It's the end of July, and we'll help you to see the fans there. We're glad to have the fans back here at Road America. So thank you very much. Paul, thank you for being here. Brandon.